Man's final frontier, the exploration of space in search of foreign planets and possibly other intelligent life forms, has always piqued humanity's curiosity since the early times of stone and fire. Despite how many people express great enthusiasm in the prospects of sailing through the stars and starting human space colonies, it is advised that you must use caution when pursuing such grand ambitions. There was always something unsettling about reaching the unknown. After all, space is a vast abyss that holds many secrets from humanity, some being better left unknown. Our curiosity about the darker side of space exploration is often portrayed through sci-fi movies and games, usually involving horror or psychological themes. One prime example of this is the video game series known as Metroid, particularly the fourth entry in the franchise, Metroid Fusion. Fusion is a sci-fi action adventure themed side-scroller game released for the Game Boy Advance back in 2002, and its story chronologically takes place after the events of Metroid Other M. In Fusion, we continue to follow the story of the series protagonist Samus Aran as she yet again gets herself thrown into another sticky situation thanks to the good old Galactic Federation. We are introduced to a new enemy simply known as the X-Parasites, which are able to attack and kill almost any living organism. After infecting the host, this terrifying parasite steals away the memories, appearance, and abilities, eventually replicating a near perfect copy of the original organism. Since after the events of the eradication of the Metroid species on the planet of SR-388, parasitic X were able to rapidly multiply in numbers thanks to the demise of their only known predator. Samus unfortunately ends up having a dangerous encounter with one of these parasites, which nearly cost her her life. Luckily, she was saved by the scientists at the Galactic Federation headquarters thanks to the concoction of a cure derived from Metroid DNA that ended up changing her very own cellular makeup due to an unexpected side effect. She ended up inheriting the Metroid's vulnerability to cold temperatures, but in return she became immune to the X-Parasite's infection to the point where she even gains beneficial abilities by simply coming into contact and absorbing the said parasites. Her old life ends and she is reborn into something different. After her swift recovery, she is sent on a mission to investigate a mysterious explosion at the Biological Space Lab Station, or BSL for short, where the parts for her infected Various suit that was removed during surgery were coincidentally sent there. A feeling of unease takes grip of Samus, but we're unsure why, though we will soon uncover the unpleasant truth at the BSL station. When we arrive in the landing bay, we are not greeted by the station crew, but rather we are introduced to a lonely silence. This one indicator already shows that there is something not quite right about the BSL station. You are alone and there won't be anyone to help, leaving you the player in a vulnerable state. After all, we no longer have access to our all-powerful Various suit from the previous games thanks to the X-Parasite infection. It strips us of our safety blankets and Samus basically has to start from square one again as a rookie with mediocre gear. Despite the intimidating settings, we have no choice but to power on and persevere through our mission in this empty husk of a station, drifting through space. A lot of the earlier Metroid games always had a sense of eeriness as you traveled through dimly lit corridors with hidden dangers lurking in the shadows. This sense of dread was reinforced by the creepy ambient sounds and music that helped build Metroid's dark atmosphere. Only the circumstances are different this time around. You have one companion aiding you on your mission, but alas, it is merely a computer with artificial intelligence that orders you around to your next objective. After a few interactions with the navigation AI, Samus nicknames it Adam, who was a former comrade from her early days at the Federation, since the computer's mannerisms reminded her of him. Let's just hope Adam doesn't pull a HAL 9000 on us later on. As you investigate the source of the explosion in the quarantine bay, you run into a familiar creature. It is the very same one you encountered on SR-388 that led you to your infection. After dispatching it yet again, you realize that it is also just another X-Parasite mimicking its now deceased prey. This largely hints that the X have somehow breached the station and have slowly been spreading to the other sectors. Another thing you'll notice is that your old Various suit is also missing, as it was supposed to be secured in this very same room. What could have possibly happened to it, you wonder? Well, the truth will reveal itself in time. After receiving your next orders from Adam, you venture further into the bowels of the station to contain the rapid spread of the X-Parasites. The lower half of the station contains 6 sectors that each mimic a natural ecosystem to house the various creatures captured by the BSL researchers. Once you take the elevator down to the 6 sectors, the game surprises you with an unexpected cutscene that's probably one of the more iconic scenes of the Metroid franchise. The mystery of the missing Various suit finally comes to light. The very first X-Parasite that originally infected you was somehow able to take control of the organic parts of the armor and bring it to life. Adam nicknames this new lifeform Samus X, or SAX. This imposter has inherited every known ability that Samus has mastered with the suit and is arguably the most strongest enemy you'll ever encounter in this forsaken space station. What makes matters worse is that the SAX is hunting you. You are its number 1 target, and there's no way for you to fight against SAX in your current state, so you'll have no choice but to run away. Your only hope of survival on this mission is to recover your forgotten abilities by any means necessary, whether it's locating data rooms or absorbing special X-Parasites. If you do this enough times, then maybe, just maybe, you'll have a fighting chance. As you journey throughout the sectors, you'll sometimes run into destroyed hatches that obstruct your path. This is the handiwork of the SAX, as it's suggested that this creature is somehow aware of your weakened state. Every now and then, you'll have a run-in with SAX. These encounters are arguably the most tense parts of the game, since all you can do is just wait and listen. All you hear is the sound of SAX foreboding footsteps accompanied by the ominous music and faint heartbeat noises in the background. This makes every encounter of SAX very memorable, as I was always able to recall these scenes even after playing it 18 years ago as a child. Putting aside the main antagonist of Metroid Fusion, the other thing I love about this game is the amount of foreshadowing and build-up it lays upon for its boss fights, as it preps you for the inevitable fight. The number of clues and details the game leaves in the background just feels right. One of the best examples of this is Nightmare, who is one of the more memorable bosses of Fusion solely because of how frightening it is. The way this boss is introduced as a mysterious floating shadow in the background of Sector 5 makes it seem as if it is stalking you. It is not until much later in the game where you return back to this sector to investigate an explosion, only to find the area in ruin. As you follow the trail of debris and destruction left behind by the monster, you eventually fall into a dark room surrounded by electronic junk. This sort of symbolizes a graveyard of machines, with the undead zombies slowly rising from the ground as Nightmare finally reveals itself. All of this imagery is very fitting, as you have previously fought and killed Nightmare in Metroid Other M, only for it to be revived by the X-Parasite, since its remains were sent to the BSL station by the Federation. Nightmare has one of the most bizarre yet unsettling boss themes, which sets the tone for the fight perfectly. It has a hint of sorrow, which suggests that you should put the poor creature out of its misery. After all, Nightmare's corpse is only being manipulated by the heartless X-Parasites for their own nefarious purposes. What's dead should remain dead. Leave them to rest in peace. When it comes to sci-fi horror, I believe Metroid Fusion does a fantastic job at capturing the tense atmosphere of being isolated on a giant spaceship. After all, one of the key creators to the Metroid franchise, Yoshio Sakamoto, admitted that a lot of the designs for the games was heavily inspired by the Alien movies along with other sci-fi horror classics. It's a well-known fact that Samus Aran pays homage to Ellen Ripley from Alien, but it's interesting to dig deeper to find other movie references in the Metroid games. I like to believe that the concept of the X-Parasite was most likely inspired from John Carpenter's film rendition of The Thing from 1982, which has a near-identical alien antagonist that carries the same abilities as the X. Both are incredibly dangerous, as they can kill and replicate at a fast pace while stealing the identity of their victims. If they were ever allowed to reach civilization, then it would be game over, man. Movie talk aside, all of these design choices pay a nice tribute to the classics, while at the same time, Metroid is able to mold itself into its own unique thing. Hopefully, the legacy of this franchise will continue to move onward and be remembered by future generations. Well, story time is over. That's enough about me reminiscing about the past. Hope all of you people have a good day. I'm signing off.